Howdy folks, Little John in the brewery, Friday afternoon. After work there's a bit of a rainstorm coming in. Time for a couple of quick testers. What I'm testing today is not particularly a brew, but some method. I'm looking at oxidation in bottling. There's a lot of discussion that gets around about oxidation in the bottling process and whether it should be avoided, never really even exists at all, and ways that people say to avoid it and things that they say to cause it. So I've got a couple of bottles from the Chocolate Rye IPA, which I did a while ago. So this was bottled 21st of June, so about 8 weeks ago. And when I did that batch, I bottled a couple of bottles, 2 bottles specifically, to test. I'll try to see if there's any oxidation issues that I could see. So what I've got from my left to right, your right to your left, is bottle number 1. It's just standard, bottle up in a PET bottle with a big scoop of dextrose. So standard bottle priming. It was just a little bit overgassed. It's a little frothy. Took a little bit of effort to get it poured, but we got there. This fella, number 2 in the middle, is prime normal, but what I did is I've squeezed all the air out of this before I put the cap on. So squeezed it out, brought the liquid level, beer level up to the top, put the cap on and let it go. So this bottle was squeezed in when it went, and then as it's gone, it's filled out under pressure. Now that is how a lot of people say avoid oxidation in your bottles, by using your PET bottles and doing that. Because there's argument that little bit of headspace we leave in the bottles, that the oxygen that's in there can or will oxidise your beer. And the other one I've done is with this bottle, I've carved in with just, again, normal scoop of Dex, as you normally would. I've capped it, and then I've inverted it a couple of times, so to get any of that oxygen that is in that headspace initially, into the beer straight away. Make sure it's in there. That beer's got oxygen in it. Now, theory is some theory is that the yeast will consume the oxygen as part of the process, and it can't cause an issue. The other side of the argument is that yeast has already grown, gone through lag phase, it's used the oxygen, it's already alive and active, and it will just eat sugars that are there without any effect from the oxygen at all. There's a couple of different schools of thought. There's some schools that are going to say this bottle is just bottled as per normal, is going to get affected by oxidation with some time. There's those who say this one, who had the oxygen, the air squeezed out, will not be affected by any oxidation at all, no matter what, and that's the way you should do it. And then there's this one, and then there's those who say that this one is going to be seriously oxidised because of the inversion of the air. Yeah. So there's those that are going to say that oxygen that's just going to get eaten by the sugar, by the yeast anyway, as it's eating the sugar and not going to cause a problem. So 8 weeks, okay, it's not a massive amount of time, but for the average brewer, they're going to drink their beers within 8 weeks of making them, of bottling them, you know. So if people are having oxidation issues, they're obviously going to be happening in this period of time. So we should be able to get some sort of idea. So this is our baseline. That's a beer, it's nice, it's fruity, it's got some chocolatey notes, but it's smooth. And now this one should not have any oxidation issues at all. Now, there's an interesting thing I want to touch on that. Okay, because right now, those two are different. Okay, and the argument's going to be, well, they should be different. This one hasn't got any oxygen, that one has. There's going to be some difference. Now this one, that's been inverted up and down, had all the oxygen put through it, for all intents and purposes, for all arguments, should be oxidised. Or should be suffering from some oxidation. Now, the light's not great in here at the moment, but I can't really tell any difference looking at them. And again, may have been a better experiment done on a light beer. I think I just sort of thought of this as I was going through and bottling, and probably didn't really think about it that much. So to a degree, I've philosophied myself. I haven't made much comment. I don't make much comment on video about my lack of. I don't know really how to put it. I don't take too much credit in what a lot of brewlosophy experiments, due to the fact I tend to find they use bad baselines and bad bloody beers to test things. And possibly I've done that in this. I possibly should have done this on a much cleaner, lighter beer, where you could sort of see if there was a colour difference. If there was sunshine outside, it would help. Now, let me say one thing. This is a bloody nice beer. These two are different, and they're all different. Okay, that one, here's a real technical beer word, or a string of beer word. That one is a little bit dead against that. I mean, it's still got plenty of flavour. As they all do, but it's not as lively. That one's still got, it's got a fresh little bit of body. The malts and the hops are both evident. The body's clean, almost crisp, but it's fresh. You know, now this one that's had the inversion of the bottle, so technically, realistically, these are the same, except for the inversion of getting that oxygen into the actual beer, as opposed to just letting it sit on top. Okay, it's flatter, not as in gassy, but that liveliness, that brightness that a beer contains. It's in a joy, is one way I like to describe it. That feeling that beer in your mouth, of the combination of the lightness and the gas and the, coming together, and you can feel that. It's a feeling in your mouth, that mouth feel, that whole thing. That's Fat and Dead. That's a little bit bright and lively. And that has almost this, it's halfway between these two, but it's got a bit of a sour edge. It's like it's picked something up. Now, I've got to say, it's not exactly, not that I really expected anything. I really thought the three beers would be pretty much the same. I didn't think there'd be, I mean, obviously, I knew there was going to be differences. Exactly what they were going to be, I wasn't completely sure. I had hopes that perhaps that one, with the air squeezed out, was going to be some sort of miracle and was going to be the best beer. I had inclinations that was going to be possibly a problem, that beer. Now, this is a thing I've done plenty of times myself. Obviously, years ago when I first got, I used to invert all the water, and I still find myself now having to stop myself. Having gone through looking at oxidation and things, I sort of thought, okay, hang on, maybe that's not a great idea, and I sort of stopped. I've tried to stop doing it. And this is the exact thing that made me think about doing this experiment when I was bottling this batch. I got this bottle, I bloody put it in, and I inverted it. And I thought, oh, don't do that. And I thought, no, stuff it. Okay, let's do this experiment. So this is why it's on this chocolate IPA. It wasn't planned. It was completely on the spot. That's what all it took. I inverted a bottle after I bottled it, and there we went. So right now, and again, this is not scientific, and people are going to want to pick it apart because it's not blind testing. It's not fucking it's not triangled. It's not done with 372 random fucking people off the street. And let me tell you, try and get 372 random people off the street just at the moment with Corona. You've got no chance. Here, come and drink some oxidised beer. They say the fuck off. Anyway. For me, that beer shows, to me, no indication of oxidation of any kind, no cardboardy taste or anything like that. And that's just standard every day, the way everyone bottles. Just put in the bottle, put the cap on it, away you go. That is still a good beer, and if you hadn't done it any other way, you'd know no better. But it is missing something, as is that. Now, that is closer to those two. This one is definitely different. So I'm going to throw this out there. For me, removing any oxygen from the bottle has actually made the beer worse. Okay, worse is not the right word. It has made for a not quite so good beer. Let's do it that way. Because I said it's not a bad beer. But the beer that was done in the PET bottle with the oxygen left in the headspace is nicer than the one with the oxygen squeezed out. Now, and that one with the oxygen infused, it's not quite as crisp as the other. And my thinking is it's something to do with the amount of oxygen available and how quickly it can get taken up. By inverting the bottle and forcing that oxygen into the beer, I think it's possibly hurried a reaction that's going to happen anyway, and possibly cause some amount of stress the second time on the yeast. But like I say, it's not big. It's very minimal. Definitely not as noticeable as that. But that is definitely, without a doubt, brighter and fresher. So, and these beers were dry hopped. They were dry hopped on 2 occasions. It's a 14 litre batch that was dry hopped with, first dry hop was 2.9 grams a litre of Centennial, and the second dry hop was the same, 2.9 grams a litre again of Citra on day, looks like day 4 and day 7 of the ferment. So there was plenty of time for those hops to have some interaction. And obviously it's not massive hops, but as in like a New England IPA where you do get your hop creep. But that also has massive whirlpool hops, where this beer didn't. But I'm just purely from the oxidizing side and bottling. Just from that, I can see no reason why you shouldn't just simply stick your priming sugar in your bottle, fill it up with your bottling wand as you normally do, leaving your 1.5 inches or whatever, 2 inches of headspace in the bottle, capping them up and just sitting them away and letting them be. It's not a problem. I've tried, I've squeezed all the area. I've done what I can to avoid any oxygen in the beer, and it's not as enjoyable. Inverting the bottles hasn't made a huge amount of difference, but it's not quite as fresh. So there's definitely something going on there. Maybe someone will know why. If they do, they can offer some sort of scientific explanation. Maybe stick it down the bottom. There'd probably be one for it. As we know, Little John's not about science. He's about what does and what doesn't. And that's simply it. Why it does it, I don't give a fuck. I don't care why it does it. All I want to know is what the result is. And for me, off that, just bottle normal. There's no need to do anything else. No need to stuff around and keep the oxygen out, because it would appear that that amount of oxygen that goes in there is beneficial to the beer. For whatever reason, it seems to be beneficial. Because there's certainly nothing wrong with that. And as I said, these two I can get a little iffy on comparing to that. If I didn't know any better, you'd drink those and you'd think that's how they work. Yeah, and you'd be reasonably happy with it. But yeah, when you do them together, clearly different. So that's it. Anyway, I'm not going to rave on anymore. So as I said, you got any comments, any questions, stick them down the bottom, as per always. If you haven't subscribed to Little John's, and God knows why haven't you, hit the button down there in the bloody corner. It says subscribe. It's easy to work out. And there's a bell next to it. Hit the bell and you get notified when there's a new video. Because I do this stuff all the time. I'm drinking beer, I'm making beer, I taste beer, I'm talking about beer. How to make beer, how to make it better. What works, what doesn't. That's what we do on Little John. Patreons. Guys, cheers. Patrons are an option, offshoot from Little John. Gives you a little bit of, extra, a little bit of a thank you to Little John for time and effort. And it's only for those who want to, who feel the need. But if you want to have a look, hit the link down the bottom, see what it's about. But for now, I'm done. Wrap this up. So, oxidation in the bottle. I've found no evidence that oxidation really happens. But I've certainly found evidence that it does affect your beers. So, take from that what you will. Put what from that you will into your brewing. So, till I see you again, we're brewing beer, drinking beer or talking beer, good brewing.